Welcome to episode 176 of The Twim Show. This is host Sajid, and today I am covering the news and updates in the digital marketing space from the week of August 28th through September 1st, 2023. First off, I have an announcement, which is Google has updated Lighthouse 11. Lighthouse 11 is the underlying engine of PageSpeed Insights. PageSpeed Insights is a free tool that helps you to find and fix issues slowing down your website or web application. It's a good tool. You should be using it from time to time to check the not only how fast your website loads. That's obviously something you should care about. The other thing is, what are the other underlying issues? Like, is it there? We have talked about LCP, which is largest contentful paint, and INP, interaction to next paint. These are the two important factors to Google, and in a PageSpeed Insights report will help you to find that. The other thing is the latest version of this Lighthouse 11 includes accessibility audits. This helps you to find, what are the areas. Like, it has 13 different areas that Lighthouse 11 introduces 13 new accessibility audits. Now, accessibility audit is not something that is still counted towards ranking. However, you should do it just because you want to include everyone to be able to see and access your website, particularly people who are unable to see. Let me see anything else that you should be. No, I think these are the main updates from the latest version of Lighthouse 11, which is powering PageSpeed Insights. So you should go ahead and try it out and see. Well, yeah, you should try it out and see, how well your website is performing. Next up, YouTube has now given content creators an opportunity to remove community guideline strike from their channels by completing an educational courses. So if you think about it, if you by any chance, by mistakenly or unknowingly did something that goes against YouTube's community guideline, and you'd be like, what did I do? Right? And then I think 3 strikes and your channel is gone, or maybe 2 strikes, your channel is gone. So to counter that, what YouTube has said, well, if you go ahead and get a strike, then we want you to go ahead and do this educational course. And once you complete that educational course, we're going to reset it. This is great, especially if you have, made a mistake, right? Unlike, getting, I don't want to bash, but unlike Facebook ban, oh, you've done it, you're banned. I know you did something wrong. We're not going to tell you what you did wrong, but we're going to just take your channel from you. So this actually, I like what YouTube is doing, Google is doing, which is giving you a pathway to kind of get back into the, game with the right stuff and not have to have you scratch your head and figure out, what did you do wrong. Now, obviously, there will be bad apples. They will continue to do that. And I think for them, they have no excuse because, hey, you got a strike. You haven't done anything. Now go deal with the consequences. Next up, this was a question that was asked. John Mueller was, does the language of the website make any difference as to whether Google will issue a penalty or not, especially manual action? So John Mueller says, it doesn't matter what your language of the language is, especially of your site or your page, whether it could be English, could be Chinese. Again, I'm using Chinese as an example, or Spanish. It doesn't matter. If you do something bad, Google goes and gives you a penalty or manual action regardless of what language it is, right? So that's something you should be, again, is common sense, but I guess common sense is not common all the time. That's why this question came up. So since it came up this week, I thought I'd share with you that language doesn't matter. Google doesn't prefer one language over the other, because Google's job and role is to basically answer people's query and connect the searcher to the answer, regardless of what language you're in. Like, you could be in Japan and speak Japanese, and you are looking for things in Japanese. Google's going to connect you, right? And if they find something that's not kosher, that goes against Google guidelines, they're going to just penalize you. Simple as that. Okay, this was a question that came up during our recent webinar, this week's webinar that Duda had helped with Google's Martin Split, and someone asked them, hey, is Google penalizing or Google doing anything extra to detect AI content? Should we be worried about, right? Given the AI, a lot of people are publishing a lot more content than they would have otherwise done. Sometimes I am guilty of that. Now, and some of this content are low quality content. So what's Google doing? How is Google addressing it? Now, Martin did not answer this question directly, but what he did say was that, hey, Google has systems and processes in place that checks the quality of the content at multiple stages. So they already had that. And remember, back in 2022, around December, Google had published a research paper after they did a review of about 500 million web articles where they said, they have this algorithm, which I believe is part of the helpful content update algorithm, that they said it was built to detect low quality content. Before AI content was an issue, they just built this algorithm that's purpose was to only detect low quality content. And what they found out was that this algorithm was equally good in detecting AI generated content. Who would have known, right? So going back, what I'm saying is, while Martin didn't confirm that, hey, we are doing something specifically for AI content, what Martin is saying, like, we already have processes in place that detects low quality content. So if your content is not good, it doesn't matter whether it's human written or whether it's AI written, we are going to be able to detect it, and we're going to stop it from getting into the indexing and ranking system. That's all there is, right? So the question for you is, before you start thinking of writing AI content, you should be asking yourself, why are we writing this content? Now, there could be multiple reasons, right? And the three I can think of is like, hey, we are writing content because we want to get ranked. In that case, to each his own. You're taking a risk, right? The other one is we just want to write content. We don't care whether we're getting, ranked by Google or not, but we want our visitor to come in and to our site. And when they come to our site, this is, oh my God, they're writing so much good content, right? Now, the question over there is like, if the content is poor, then how does it reflect on you, on your brand, right? Are you that? It's like having bringing in customers to your restaurant and the food quality is bad, right? People are going to throw up eating your food. Does it really matter how many visitors you bring? Because they're going to try your food and they're going to run out of the door. So lastly is you should be asking is, can I live with a penalty from Google? Now, Google is not going to necessarily give you a penalty by saying, you know what, oh, you have broken this thing and we're going to penalize you. But maybe Google will just refuse to index your site. So can you be in business without being indexed? Those are the three questions you should be asking before you jump into the AI generated content world and figure things out. Okay, the other question that came up this week was, does URL structure matter for SEO? So the question is should you put let's just say our company Market and Grow, and it has 4 different services: Market and Grow /service /plumber, Market and Grow /service /roofer. Or should we do something like Market and Grow /roofers /Washington DC, Market and Grow /plumber /Virginia? And the question was, will one matter more than the other? Will one allow us to help get indexed and ranked better than the other? To that question, Google's John Mueller says absolutely not. I mean, it matters more sense from a UI UX perspective for your user to be able to see your URL structure and figure out, where they're taking you and what you're doing. From a Google standpoint, it doesn't matter. What matters is good quality content, right? Again, I sound like a broken record, but I think you kind of get the point where you really need to have good quality content to be able to rank and be shown. The other thing that happened this week was Google John Mueller answered a few questions around redirects, where, which redirects you should be using, whether it's 301, 302, permanent redirects, things like that. The only thing that came out, the two things that you need to worry about or you should be aware of, number one is it's a myth that one type of redirect is better than the other. It doesn't matter. Permanent redirects such as 301s, a lot of people say are irreversible. However, Mueller says that is not the case. It is possible to reverse a 301 redirect. Now, having said that, and having explained this to you, one thing I want to tell you is just because it's possible to reverse a 301 redirect, you shouldn't actually play with 301 haphazardly and just say, oh, we will just do a 301 versus a 302. The main thing that came out of this conversation, and by the way, I have put the link to the video in our show notes page if you really want to check it out, is that you should be using redirects based on your particular need. Whether it's 302, 301, 307, you need to know why you're doing it, what's the purpose, how long it is there for, and things like that. And I believe a few months back, I had talked about 301, 302, and when you should be using 302, things like that, right? I just do not remember the name of the episode number. If I did, I would have shared this with you, but you need to kind of dig through the show notes archive and see. But we have covered it, and I don't want to get into the details right now, but all I will say is that 301 is not permanent. It can be reversed. However, having said that, you still want to be careful about choosing the right redirect. Okay, the last SEO update for this week, it was, someone was saying, hey, seems like technical SEO is less important, it's dying, it's no longer relevant. To that, Google's John Mueller says, hell, absolutely not. It's still as important as it was before. Maybe not 100%, maybe it's still 95% important, right? So to that, what Mueller is trying to say is like, look, while Google has removed technical terms like HTTPS and Core Web Vitals from the ranking system section, it does not necessarily mean that we don't care about it. It still matters that your site loads faster, it's accessible, and things like that. And remember, I talked about the light speed and page speed inside. Those things matter, because if Googlebot comes to your site and it's not able to index your site, or it runs into an error, Google is not going to be indexing it. It's just going to bounce back and move on to something else. So technical SEO is still important. You need to stick to it, and you cannot just ignore it. Okay, this brings us to the last update of this week, which is Google Ads have a new policy called the limited ad serving policy. So given there are so many bad actors and bad advertisers out there who are kind of spammers, who are creating Google Ads account and basically, let's just say it takes Google 3 weeks to find out that this is a bad actor, and by then they have already ran an YouTube ad and made millions, and bamboozled all these people. To improve trust, what Google is saying is hey, if we see a new advertiser account and we feel like there is bad intention, we are not going to ban that account, but we're going to basically limit how far their ads are going to go, how many users are going to see that ad, which is pretty interesting to me, and I kind of like that, right? I like that where Google is going, where Google is going to say it's a new advertiser, their account has not been verified, they are very recently new thing, they're they're playing new ads, and the other thing is their feedback's not good from the users, as well as their advertising, their quality score is low. They're just going to basically limit it. And how long they're going to limit it for, Google doesn't say that. And once you are into that limited or / aka unqualified, you're going to obviously get a pop-up on your Google Ads dashboard saying, you are you're an unqualified advertiser, or your ad account has been, they have applied the limited ad serving policy on you. You're going to get the notification. Now, over time, Google is going to keep tracking you, and Google is going to see, your account attributes, activity, your account maturity, ad format usage, history of policy compliance, your advertiser industry, and identity verification status to Google to decide whether they're going to go ahead and, remove that or not. So if you get hit by this policy, it's not the end of the world, but you do need to stay in the game, and you need to keep making sure you're doing the right things. You're gonna add, you're not doing any bad stuff, knowingly or unknowingly. You follow the policy, and Google will then eventually bring you back to qualified status. And I've discussed this a lot more in details in the show notes, so make sure you read about this if you're going to advertise for the first time in Google Ads, or you've been affected by this policy, because it's very important for you to stay on top of it. Okay, with that, folks, that's it for this week in marketing. I hope you found some value. This is your host Sajid signing off. Until next week, take care. Bye bye.